Judas Iscariot is known for betraying Jesus, but did he really do so willingly? Well, let's find out in today's episode of the Bible Stories Unplugged. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the series where we look at the origins of well-known stories from the Bible in just 60 seconds. Today we're looking at Judas Iscariot, the disciple who betrayed Jesus, and find out if he really was a bad guy. Okay, so we all know Judas Iscariot as the one disciple that turned on Jesus, right? But what's interesting is that even in the Gospels, his character is a bit more complex than just a simple traitor. See, Judas was a thief by trade, but not like an occasional kleptomaniac. He was a full-on con man. In fact, John says that he was the kind of person that would take advantage of people's generosity, taking what they gave him and not giving anything back. Yikes! That doesn't sound like someone who wants to be a disciple, does it? And yet Jesus calls him. But here's the kicker. In the Gospel of John, it seems like Judas liked being a disciple because being with Jesus gave him access to crowds of people, which meant he could take their money and stuff. So Judas was probably motivated to stay in the group not because he loved Jesus, but because he wanted to make easy money. Now, if this is true, then it makes sense why he's the only one of the disciples who is raised from the dead in the New Testament. After all, if he faked his own death by stealing from the group and running away, it wouldn't be surprising that no one would bother looking for him. But there's a lot more to Judas's story. And if you want to hear more about how he might have actually been set up to betray Jesus, then check out the episode on the origin of the kiss of betrayal. And while Judas certainly has a reputation as the ultimate bad guy, I think he can teach us some important lessons. For one, he shows us that you can't hide from God. No matter how many disguises you wear or what you try to cover up, God sees your heart. Even when Judas tried to return the 30 pieces of silver, he couldn't escape God's judgment. In fact, he only made things worse. Secondly, Judas reminds us that everyone's an outsider in some way. Think about it. All the disciples left Jesus at the cross except for John. They were all outsiders, afraid and confused. Judas was not alone in his struggles. And finally, Judas shows us that forgiveness is possible. Yes, he betrayed Jesus, but after realizing what he had done, he regretted it. And while it wasn't enough to save him, it shows that no matter what we do, we can always turn back to God and find forgiveness. So while Judas may have ended up committing suicide, he didn't end up in hell. And remember, he's not the only one who betrayed Jesus. Peter denied knowing Jesus 3 times before the rooster crowed. And we don't remember him as a bad person, do we? We remember him as the one who became the rock of the church. So the next time you think of Judas, remember that he was a real person with a real struggle, a person who made mistakes and never really got a second chance. But through his story, God reminds us that we can always come back to him no matter how far we've strayed. That's it for this episode of the Bible Stories Unplugged. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, please subscribe and leave a like. And as always, feel free to share any thoughts or comments you have down below. I can't wait to see you all next time. Until then, take care.